Hey, I thought I would make a little behind the scenes video about the making of the green shit, which is something I don't do often, but I just felt like this project deserved a bit of an explanation, a bit of a glimpse behind the curtain, as it were. Mostly because it's something that we pulled off within a very short turnaround. It's going to be me speaking in a very stream of conscience manner about the conception and making of the green shit. So to start, this idea came about because of a contest that Dread Central was running to make a short during this time of quarantine. Now, upon reading the rules, it said you had to shoot it on your phone, and I have shot many things on my phone. I mean, even recently, I shot a number of short films on my cell phone. I have been making content alone for a very long time. And that's not because of quarantine. That's just because I'm an indie filmmaker and I don't often have resources at my fingertips. Since I was a kid, made what could look like self-reliant content. Now, it isn't solely self-reliant. I still need collaborators. But since I was a kid, I've wondered, but what can I make with as little help as possible? And I think that's a good way for any independent filmmaker to think. I shot a feature after my freshman year of college in the movie theater I worked at in my hometown in Maryland. And I didn't know how to edit at this point. And when I got back to film school, I found an editing major who was willing to cut that feature. And I gave him my hard drives. And I said, here's the feature. Here's all the footage. Here's the script. When can I see something? And he was like, I'll have an assembly in this amount of time. I checked back with him. He said, no, I need more time. I checked back with him. He said, no, I need more time. Months passed, and I finally go over to this kid's apartment, and he has said, you know what, dude, I haven't messed with it. Some other things took priority. I wound up working on another project. You want your hard drives back? And I remember he lived in like a 6th-floor walk-up in New York, and I was walking down his steps with these hard drives, thinking about the months wasted on waiting on somebody else. And in that moment, I told myself, not only would I learn how to be an editor, I would focus my time and energy on what can I create within just this, just me. What can I create? Just me. And it can be misconstrued as ego, and I'm sure there is a bit of ego in there. But for me, it was about giving birth to a new approach for how I would create that couldn't be derailed by other people. Now, there's going to be fault in that thinking, but I never wanted to be at the mercy of someone else's inability to function or focus. Okay, we haven't even started talking about green shit yet. This is going to be 20 minutes long. All that to say, I have been thinking this way for decades. You know, I've made a self-shot feature. It's called Worm. It's on this YouTube channel, I believe. I'm wearing the camera. That idea came from, I had a script deal at Cartoon Network for a live action show. They were going to get into live action shows. And one of the only live action shows they had at the time was a Nick Cannon produced sketch comedy show for kids. They just started filming it. They were in production. We were told that script was a surefire thing. It was going next. The head of the network, the head of programming loved it. It was top of the stack for the next live action pilot to be produced. I believed that, even though I'd already been out here for a long time, I still was given such reassurance from my contacts over there, from the people that were working on the deal, that I relaxed a little bit when it came to the creation of my own content. And a year passed. Now, a year didn't pass without me making anything. But a year passed without me maybe having the output I currently have because I thought this show was happening. Nick Cannon overspent on his kid sketch comedy show to such a degree that it just folded the entire live action initiative at Cartoon Network. And like that, my show was gone. And like that, I had, in my eyes, wasted a year. So you learn these lessons over time. Okay, you learn these lessons, and everybody out here knows it. My point is, that gave birth to Worm, because I sat on my couch and I thought, I'm not this person. I'm not a person who whose ability to create and ability to express themselves through video and film and art is dependent upon anyone's okay or anyone else's green light. I've never been that person. And so I thought, what's a movie you could make alone? Well, you could make a movie if the guy's wearing the camera. You don't need a cameraman. Well, and he moves through the town and it's all independent. You need other actors, of course, but the audio is hooked to the same rig the camera's hooked to, and that gave birth to Worm. You know, necessity is the mother of invention. And I feel a necessity, a drive to create. So, having self-shot things like Worm, having self-shot things like another feature called the Jimmy Tupper versus the Goatman of Bowie. I mean, that's a guy obsessed with this Goatman legend goes out to the woods and films himself as he searches for this creature. And that actually got into South by Southwest in 2010. I don't know, a million different Onyx videos over the years. Immediately when I read the description for this contest, I thought, okay, it's black and white because that's what I've been doing with these self-shot shorts that I've been doing on my cell phone on my channel anyway, Psychopomp, Cycle 1, and the ASMR short. So it's black and white. I'm self-shooting it, so it'll be my phone on a tripod that I'm carrying, which means you can do SnoraCam stuff like you did with Worm, which means you could get insert shots of stuff that's on a character's body. So what should be on his body that would make him moving or stomping through an environment interesting? Also, I'm not going to have sound on set. My mind immediately went to, okay, if you don't need sync sound, then I'm wearing a gas mask, so my audio can be done in post. I can come back here to my room and record all my dialogue.
I know the rules, monkey.
And how are we going to learn about the world? How are we going to get any amount of exposition? Well, my go-to, if you look at Little Willie, my go-to is, and this is a go-to for anyone looking to create on their own, just start talking to something in the room. You know, have a conversation with your Freddy Krueger action figure. And what can that reveal in you about your psyche or your world or your story, your narrative? I mean, my film school teacher, let me remember what I was getting back to. Oh, I was getting back to the fact that I could do my audio in post. Okay, put a pin in that. I did a short film in film school that was about a pastor who was praying to God. I'm sorry, a police officer that was praying to God, help me find a serial killer. The serial killer's on the loose. This is a horrible fucking short, by the way. Please help me find the serial killer. There's a serial killer on the loose. Let me go to church and pray about it. Let me go to church and pray about it. Turns out this religious cop, his pastor was the serial killer. Twist! So he'd been going to church to pray that God would show him who the serial killer was, and it was his pastor all along. He'd been using little ribbons from the Bible as like a telltale on the bodies. I made that short. My film teacher basically said to me, which is also what, you know, Bong Joon-ho said, Martin Scorsese said at some point, that the most personal will always be the most creative. And he challenged me to find a personal story to tell for my next short. I think my final short of that production year. And I turned inward, and I made a short about my family situation, which wasn't exactly healthy at the time. And it caused me to reveal a lot, and I put myself in the short, you know, which a lot of filmmakers do. That's like the kind of 1-to-1 ratio. Well, my POV, I'll be the one saying it. Doesn't always have to be that way. It shouldn't always be that way. Point is, I can look at some object in my office and tell you a story or have a conversation with it that will reveal something deeper about my psyche. This is a toy that I had as a kid that I dreamt of buying, and I loved the Ghostbusters animated show, and I finally got the toy, and I had a nightmare that its eyes glowed red by itself in the middle of the night, and I woke up the next day, and I had to try to sell this toy to one of my friends because I wanted it out of my goddamn house. It scared me so much, and I had guilt around how badly I had wanted this, and then how stupid I was to have wanted it when I couldn't even handle having it. This has a story. Everything in here has a story. I mean, God, there's books over here. There's movies. There's a photograph of Barbara Crampton. I could make a whole short film about me talking to Barbara Crampton and hearing her voice talk back to me. What does that mean? What does that say? So, let's get back to the green shit. I realized it'd be boring if I was the only one talking and I couldn't interact with other actors, so you give yourself a proxy. You give yourself a surrogate for another perspective. Love talking to objects, love talking to dolls. Little Willie's, you know, about a guy talking to a doll. I get on eBay and I search for vintage stuffed animal. I'm obsessed with these rubber-faced stuffed animals and have been for a really long time. And I see this monkey, and then all of a sudden, well, there's the short. I always need some kind of visual that, I mean, I saw the doll for Little Willie. I'd already had the idea, but once I saw that doll, I was like, well, making Little Willie, can't not. A lot of times I'm triggered by a visual. I have a short that I'm going to make soon with a friend, just over, we're each going to shoot our own portion and I'll stitch it together. And it's based on this guy. Because what's his deal? The fuck's going on with this guy? Cowboy alligator? $1 million idea. Hey, look, I'm not saying the ideas are going to be $1 million ideas. I'm just saying they're ideas. And it's only your job as a filmmaker is just to investigate the idea, explore it, and then flip it outward to become a narrative. Your job stops there. Doesn't have to be that good. Alligator cowboy? Who knows? My point is, once I saw the monkey, I knew it. I got it. He's a guy, apocalypse. He's gone a little mad. He's talking to a stuffed animal. Stuffed animal's not real. Or is it? We don't know what the green shit does yet, Could cause inanimate objects to become animate, or at least have life or souls. Anyway, then they can have a conversation. Then all of a sudden, because you're also thinking about that runtime, 2 minutes long. What can I really get out? How much information can I get out in 2 minutes? Now, for years, I've been a digital creator, both at Nerdist and independently. I've learned I've learned the lesson over and over again. Can this idea fit into this? I get it. You want it to be this. Can it fit into that? No, it can't fit into that. Well, what if I told you it had to fit into that, Bowser? What if I told you you're not making a video this week and we're not putting it up if it doesn't fit into that? So that has been, I've been trained to think that way from working on the internet for as long as I have. So yeah, do I want more than 2 minutes to tell a story? Of course I do. But that was the restriction. And again, restrictions are they don't just breed creativity. For me, I have to have them. The idea came out of the restrictions for the contest. Even down to, I'm getting ahead of myself, but even down to technically. So, okay, no sound guy on set. My stuff will be dubbed. I need another character to talk to. Well, if it's an inanimate object, he can be dubbed. That can be a voiceover artist working out of their house. They don't ever have to interact with me. And he can be the more knowledgeable one. He can be the one feeding us information. Anyway, you build the idea around the restrictions. Now, for me, I wanted to shoot outside because I know what the iPhone does indoors. Okay, I've shot shorts on the iPhone, and even if you're shooting in Filmic Pro and doing 24 frames per second, it's not even low light. It's just interior light with the iPhone. It's gonna get botched. So I wanted to shoot outside, but I didn't want to break any rules as far as social distancing. I didn't want to put myself in the middle of an area where I'd be forced to interact with more people than expected or force them to move around me. So I walk not far from my house, and there's the LA River Ravine, and there's barely anyone in it because it's gross, okay? It's gross. Then all of a sudden, the story starts coming together. Okay, he's walking through the ravine, he's stomping in the puddles, and he's what? Well, what's hanging from him? Monkey. Monkey saying you shouldn't even be out here, it's going to kill you. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, the green shit kills you? Okay. Then you start thinking of, you have to look at your idea and think, where will there be inherent production value, and then where will there be none? And how can I sneak production value in to make the thing feel like it had more production value overall? A lot of times, I think when making features, when honestly producing anything and everything, people focus on the wrong areas. It's like they don't understand what actually triggers the response in the viewer of recognizing quality, because some of that stuff is subtext. Some of it is, most of it is sound design. If you hear something that you don't see, you still receive it as a reality. It's just speaking sensorily. Speaking in terms of your senses. So then I started thinking about, then let's play with sound, and let's give you maybe 4 VFX shots. Okay, 4 VFX shots. Well, what's an easy VFX thing to pull off in a short amount of time? Not easy, but camera's got to be locked off. Sky replacement. Sky replacement is something a lot of VFX artists can do. Not everybody can do it well, but point is, compositing something like that, I'm not asking them to create a monster. I'm not asking them to create a 3D character. So, again, all of these ideas were born from the restrictions and born from the time restraint. I mean, I think I had the idea to make a short for this contest and then was shooting 5 days later. So, bought Monkey off eBay, bought a little radio off Amazon, had duct tape, had bungee cords, had that Mickey Mouse hat from some old sketch, burned my bathrobe in a fire pit out back, duct taped my boots to myself, and then had a wardrobe, had a character design. Chose, okay, I'm going to do 4 shots of VFX. And what was the other thing I was talking about? Monkey, all the restrictions, the time restraints, the turnaround, sound. Okay. So once I thought of doing sky replacement, I thought, well, whatever the threat is has to be in the sky. It's clouds, it's toxic gas, it's green shit of some kind. Oh, they should refer to it as that, because that's a funny way to refer to something that's actually a really giant threat. In a colloquial way, this green shit's going to kill you. And then they actually call it the green shit. Oh, and guess what? There's purple shit, because it's always fun to just hint toward a bigger world happening outside, even though we're not going to see it. You see a little bit of it, but not a whole world. Again, 2 minutes. Okay. Sound. One of the first things I did once I had the idea and I thought of the cycle of the story that, okay, it's 2 minutes. Do I want this character to die? No. But in 2 minutes, does he have to die? Yas. If you say the green shit's going to kill you, then the green shit's got to kill him. Well, how will it feel like the story isn't over? There's got to be another character that then continues the journey. Oh, the girl or whoever he's looking for on the radio is actually then how the story continues, and then it all fits. She should take Monkey with her because he was kind of our in anyway. And then you've got the beats. Again, all born out of restriction. I didn't even want to involve another actor, but then when I thought of involving another actor, I thought, okay, let's still stick to the rules. She always has her mask on. We will only ever be 6 feet apart or more. The only time I have my mask off, I'm dead on the ground, and we are much more than 6 feet apart from each other, or exactly 6 feet. Should the character have come up to me and touched my face if I was really her boyfriend or lover or husband? Yeah, would she have bent down over me and cried for a bit? Sure. A, no touching. B, no time. So she's got to take Monkey and leave. Again, that's born out of the restriction. Now let's do location scouting. So you've got, I don't know, I think I had 7 days from idea to delivery on this one. Got the idea, put in the order for Monkey and radio, started burning my clothes, started, order that gas mask, started painting it. And as you sit down to paint the gas mask, you're working through the story beats, you're refining it, you write the script, it's 3 pages, will that be 2 minutes? I don't know, let's read it out loud. You sit down, you read it out loud, you time it. I do a lot of work in, I do a lot of previs editing. Because at Nerdist we did a lot of music video parodies. So I would a lot of times have the edit done just with placeholder shots, because our turnaround would, again, it'd be 3 days. We're shooting this on Friday. It's got to be up Monday. Yep. Okay. Well, then I better do a previs edit. So you sometimes will sit down with that script and not just read it out, but actually go out, take stills, and then make your edit. And make sure it lines up and fits in 2 minutes. Make sure that it doesn't just fit in 2 minutes, but it fits in 2 minutes and has the right rhythm and has the right pace and has enough space for everything to land that you need to land, just from an informational perspective, also from an emotional perspective. Okay, so then I got a location scout because I'm only going to have like 2 days to shoot this. I go out, but as I'm location scouting, I'm finding these spots. Well, in the original script, she comes out of the woods. As I'm location scouting, I looked at some wood spots. I tested those out. I tested a bunch of spots that I didn't use. Hey, Monkey. My name's Sarah. Hey, I'm Monkey. I shot them. I, walked into frame, how I think the character would move into frame. Then I'd come back and look at them and then move on further down the ravine. And, 2 hours of walking down the ravine and back, picking spots. But then I found that tunnel. Maybe the green creeps into this shot. If you could, let me see. I'll jump up. Maybe I'm like this. Maybe the green creeps into this. And then we cut to that close, or then we cut to this close,
maybe like this. Maybe like that.
And then I decided it'd be cooler if she came out of the tunnel and you hear the monster sounds coming from the tunnel in the end. That's cooler than just like kind of a mess of woods in your frame. Feels definitely more decisive, more intentional, purposeful. So I found the tunnel. I did a couple test shots in the tunnel. And then you start testing your camera coverage. Well, what can you get self-shooting? Most of it, I was holding it, walking with it. Some of it is me setting up a tripod and then running far away to climb over that half wall near the highway and coming back and getting my camera. The tunnel was the only one that was difficult because I really wanted a profile.
Is it like that? Sarah! And it's coming up like this. Maybe. Sarah!
And the VFX guy said, that needs to be locked off. If you want me to do these shots in a matter of days, anything involving the green shit moving is going to need to be in a locked off shot. So the test I did was not locked off. The final I did was, and that took me like jamming my tripod up into a crack in the tunnel. And just with the pressure of it being stuck between the tunnel top and bottom, it's staying. Here's something important to point out. I didn't have enough time to shoot on a Friday and Saturday, edit Saturday night, deliver to VFX on Sunday, and get shots back to submit to the contest on Monday. That's not enough time. So what I decided to do was shoot test footage, but consider those to be my final as far as framing and position, so that the VFX artist could be working on the VFX shots for days before I actually shoot the film. I just can't change my shots when I deliver him the finals. Do you know what I mean? Let me have more of this coffee. So then I've opened the window for him to have more time. Of course, he can't do it on a Sunday and have me the shots by Monday. But if I do my test shooting on Tuesday and Wednesday, he has those shots Wednesday night. I'm not going to shoot the real shots till Friday, but I just have to bring them with me on my phone and frame them up to be identical. And then he'll take that work he does in the sky and it'll fit in the actual shot that I don't have till 2 or 3 days later. Okay. Sound. I've worked with a sound designer named Mike James Gallagher on a number of projects, and we have the conversation often that I don't think very sonically. I think very basic when it comes to sound. And he's always encouraging me to think more about the sound as a character, as something that can imply things that aren't there, as something that can imply mood, that can imply even plot movements, character changes, emotional changes. While I was scouting, I'm looking around. And by the way, that scooter was not there when I scouted. The movie was supposed to open with him stepping into the water, okay? But as I'm scouting, I'm like, okay, but I can say those monsters are coming. We don't ever have to see the monsters, but I can say they're coming. We can do all the dialogue as dubbed, because he can make it sound like it's coming from the gas mask. That girl can be on the radio. Almost all the ideas came because of sound. So that's a way that the restriction gave birth to innovation in one area, sound. And then obviously the score. But so sound was a big part of it. What will sound open up that visually will be a little bit closed down just because of time and resources? Then the day I went to shoot it, I get down there in the ravine and I'm going to shoot him walking through the puddle, and there's this scooter there that's just been ditched, and it wasn't there when I scouted 2 days before. And I realize, I'm like, oh, well, I wish it worked. If it worked, I could ride it into the shot. And then I realized, well, if you start over black, you have the sound of the scooter coming to a stop. All I have to do is sit on that bad boy and go like that. So again, sound can imply so much, and it was fun to think of how to just have fun with it. I know the scooter's not working. Will it look like the scooter was working? I don't know. Is it fun to try and sell it with sound? Yes. So then all of a sudden the scooter has life. All of a sudden things have life that don't have life because of sound. Okay. Anyway, I don't think I can tell the story of making this short without telling this story, but I'll try to tell it briefly or quickly. While I was filming the shot of me climbing over the half wall, which did go out to the highway, I saw a man looking at me from the other side of the ravine, and I could tell he wasn't happy with me. And he was staring me down. And I held up my cell phone on the tripod and I said, "Oh, I'm just filming something, dude." And he shook his head and yelled at me. And I said, "Well, I'm just filming something, dude." And then he walked away. But I didn't know if he was coming down to a blank spot of the fence to then come into the ravine and like say he had a problem with me. I didn't know what he was doing. I decided to move further down the ravine to keep filming. I went and filmed the tunnel stuff. I did the tunnel stuff a little early. Oh, and by the way, I meant to have this out. For anything that did require dialogue on camera, like me saying, "Monkey, it's so beautiful," or me saying, "Sarah," in the tunnel when I lift the mask, I have my own lav mic. I have my own lav that records right into a mini SD. It's this Tascam. I'll show you a picture of it, but it's great. Pop that bad boy on, say those lines, you're good. Not to say that can replace a sound technician. I'm just saying, for this instance, it had to. Okay. So, this guy was yelling at me, and then I decided, let me go film the tunnel stuff because I'll be a little out of his eye line, and then maybe he will have moved on. I go and I film the tunnel stuff. I don't see him come back, and I'm heading home, and I cut through the park that's near my house, and he's there in the park, and he's noticing me, but I'm noticing he's trying to make it look like he hasn't noticed me. He's doing one of these. I look over at him, and he's like this. You know what I mean? I'm like, not buying it, buddy. You saw me, and for some reason, you don't want me to know you saw me. So I go to one side of the tennis courts. He goes to the other, and he's walking exactly in pace with me. I'm like, okay, this isn't good. He's casing me for some reason. He's upset that I'm dressed like this. I don't know what his problem is. Maybe he thought I was being disrespectful by filming during a time like this, which it could be looked at as disrespectful. He keeps perfect time with me on the opposite side of the tennis court, and then when we get to the end of the tennis court, he beelines and starts running toward me. I start to freak out in my mind. I try to get close to someone else in the park. I'm like, go up to this tennis player who's walking toward the other court, and I was like, "Hey, man, do you mind if I just walk close to you? Because I think this guy is following me, and hey, dude, hey, I think this guy's following me, and then I'm realizing I'm dressed like an insane person. I'm wearing a burnt bathrobe. I've got a gas mask and Mickey Mouse ears in my hand. I took them off, but I covered in mud. You know, when I got to the park, I covered my face in mud. I look like a crazy person. Of course, this tennis player is not going to give me the time of day. He starts moving away from me. The dude starts running up this hill that basically goes around outside the park. And let me see if I can explain this. I'm walking. I know this dude's running so that he can get to the top of the hill and then just drop down and be right on me. You know, get the jump on me. Again, I don't know why, but it's clear that's what's happening. The tennis player moves away from me. I look up. This dude's booking it top speed up to the top of the hill, and sure enough, just starts barreling down the hill toward me. I start to back up and look at his body to see if he has anything on him. And as I'm doing that, he puts his hand in his pocket, starts digging around for something, and he pulls something out of his pocket right as he's trying to stop himself from running because he's gotten to the base of the hill. He's trying to slow himself down. It causes him to stumble, and he drops the object that he had pulled out of his pocket. It lands in the grass. We both look at it. It's a knife. It's a foldable knife with, finger holes in it. And it lands in the grass. I see it. He sees it. He bends down, covers it with his hand, and then brings it up behind his back and keeps walking toward me. I said, "Hey, man, I think I might have upset you, and I wanted to apologize." He said, "What? You think I'm upset? You think I'm upset?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I might have upset you, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry." He keeps getting closer to me. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm getting stabbed. How much is it going to hurt? Is it going to kill me? I guess I can use the tripod to defend myself, but it's one of those really weak phone tripods that's going to snap if I were to hit it over a dude's head. I think maybe just trying to diffuse the situation is best. So he said, "Oh, you think I'm upset? You think I'm upset?" I said, "Yeah, I think I might have made you angry, and I want to say I'm sorry." And he said, I'm angry? I'm angry? Now he's so close, it's like one or two more steps before he could reach me with a knife. So in the middle of my third apology, I just turned and started to run. I said, yeah, man, I'm sorry. But yay! And I just dipped, running through the park, top speed as I can go. And I'm carrying all this shit with me, and I'm wearing a bathrobe and boots. I choose not to look back because I've seen enough horror films to know when you look back, you stumble or you slow yourself down just long enough to get tackled by the bad guy. But I run by this woman who's calmly reading a book in the grass, and I think, oh, I'm going to terrify her by running by like this. So I yell out to her. I say, sorry, there's a crazy guy in the park. Realizing I'm the crazy guy in the park. As far as she knows, that statement made no sense. Anyway, point is, I decided to try to run out to the main road because if I get to the main road, maybe there'll be cars, he'll give up, or there'll be enough obstacles to where he won't be able to reach me. I get to the main road, there's no cars coming, so I go across the main road to the other side of the street, and then I turn around, and like a movie, he's like running to the edge of the park, and then choosing to give up and go back inside the park. So he had chased me all the way to the edge of the park. And again, just like a movie, me seeing that knife hit the grass was like insert shot, knife on grass. So, whatever. That's just part of the story because it has to be. Because I think I aggravated something in him because of how I was dressed or what I was doing. Or maybe he thought I was an aggressor, which I can understand. I looked pretty insane. But I had to go back the next day to finish filming. So I went back on Saturday with pepper spray and got the thing shot. So I mean that's the story of making it. Then it's 2 minutes long. So if your shots were really mapped out, it's not going to take you long to edit. I mean, I just sat down and within an hour it's spliced together. Consider that locked. Get it to the sound designer. So Sunday is sound design and score. Reached out to a buddy of mine to do the score. He said, "Yeah, I'll give you 2 minutes." And him and the sound designer did most of their work on Sunday, and then Monday there was still a little time before the deadline, which I think was 3 p.m. So there was still a little time in the morning for final tweaks and then an export. And I had all the VFX shots Sunday night, I think. Or no, I guess they were coming in Monday morning as well. And the animation also. I forgot to mention earlier, but a big part of kind of next leveling the production value or perceived production value, where you may lack it in certain areas, you can make up for it in areas like animation, VFX, sound design. And I was really lucky that I had this animator named Joey M. Souza come on board and knock something out of the park for me that really elevated the concept overall. So all of this is to just say, rethink what you think you're inhibited by. And if you feel like you're inhibited by too much, then you need to work on becoming less inhibited, which means becoming more self-sufficient. The more self-sufficient you are, the less inhibited you will be as a creator. And that's the lesson I have learned over and over and over and over and over again. And I love collaborating. You think I could do the sound design in that short? No. Could I write that music? No. Do I know anything about VFX? Nope. You will always need collaborators, and you should be excited by that. But the more you can handle, A, the more you'll be able to communicate to your collaborators, and B, the further along the piece will be by the time it needs to go to other hands. I'm never going to be walking down that stairwell holding a stack of hard drives, defeated, and feeling like there was no way forward on a specific project. I won't ever be there again. And I think it's key for independent filmmakers to do as much as they can to never be in those situations. Even me being able to cut a previs of something as a director will help the editor. You know, the more you're able to do the different sides of the creation of a film that you can do individually will help everything as a whole. Even if you wind up making a film one day that has the largest film crew ever, that has, more departments than you even know how to interface with. Still, the more you know, the more experience you have from each of those sides of things, it will help the piece. Also, I got to the end of this edit and I just realized there were some key things I feel like I left out because I was so scatterbrained. I want to reiterate, when you look at a piece, think about what the bones were. You could look at something and say, "Oh, well, there was a talking monkey and there was green shit in the sky and there were." Think about what was actually on screen. One dude who may have been filming it himself with the camera on a tripod, walking through an empty ravine. That's all. So that's all you need to get that shot, okay? Distill something down to its bones, and it's so much more approachable and attainable that way. And also, when you think of concepts, think about some of the great science fiction movies leave things out of the frame. If you watch the original Terminator, it's mostly fucking two random people running around actual downtown LA just talking about some robot apocalypse that we never really see. And you buy it, you believe it. Okay, so don't be overwhelmed if you're tackling a concept that seems bigger than the world you can show on screen. And then also think about utilizing found objects. That scooter, at one point I kick a paint can. I know it seems like it doesn't matter, but all of that makes it feel like there was intent. An intent provides a sense of quality because there was a mind behind it. Okay, you don't have production design, you don't have set design, you don't have a prop master. Well, utilize your environment in a way that feels intentional. And don't see your restrictions as obstacles. Again, see them as fucking idea generators. That's what we would do in film school. You have to make a film that has only one cut in it. You have to make a film that has one character and a doll. You know what I mean? You have to make a film based on this poem. Those are idea starters. When everything's just wide open, it's a lot harder to come up with ideas. When there's guardrails up, it's a lot easier to create, I find. But anyway, I wanted to thank Dread Central for even coming up with this contest. I think it's important to stay creative and stay enthusiastic about creation during these times, as long as you can do so safely. Don't put yourself at risk and don't put anyone else at risk. And, if you can think of ideas that fall within those boundaries, then pursue those ideas. If the ideas are going to put you or anyone else at risk, do not pursue those ideas. Okay? That's it for now. I hope you enjoy the green shit and hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit or a lot of it about how it came to be.